Welcome to another Intro to Java video. In this video, we are going to write a method from scratch and then call that method. We're going to talk about how parameters work a little bit more in depth and talk about that idea of using code over and over and over again. I want to write a program that has the ability to draw ovals inside of rectangles. And I only want to write the code that does that one time, but I want to be able to do it over and over and over and over and over again if I want to. That's what methods are good for. The purpose of methods is, well, it's got several purposes, but the main reason is for software reuse. Software reuse is the concept that you write some bit of code once and then you use it over and over and over again. And methods are one way of doing that. Another way of doing that would be through classes. Another way of doing that would be collecting those classes in libraries and then importing those libraries and using those libraries and so on and so forth. There are several ways of doing code reuse, but methods are the first way that we are going to deal with code reuse. So like I said, we want to have something in here that's going to allow us to do the concept of drawing a rectangle and an oval, but we don't know how big that rectangle is going to be or how big that oval is going to be. Okay. Writing a method starts with a method header, public void, draw rect and oval. And what I'm going to do in here is I'm going to take in graphics G, and I'm going to use that graphics object to do some painting here. I'm just going to do G dot draw oval, and I'm going to draw it at 50 and 50, and I'm going to make it 100 by 100. Okay, so this is going to draw a rectangle in an oval. If I call it, I would just go draw a rect and oval and pass G into there. Now, why am I passing G into this? Well, as you know, in order to draw something in a frame, we need this graphics G thing. This is called a graphics context, and what it does is it's that surface that we draw on in a J-frame. Well, draw rect and oval doesn't have access to G. It doesn't. The way that these parameter arguments work is that they are local to the method. So paint is the only thing that has access to G. In order to get that graphics context into another method, I have to take it in through a parameter. The purpose of a parameter is to get something into the body of a method that doesn't exist there already. So given that I want to draw inside of this method, and it doesn't have access to my graphics context, I'm going to need to pass it in through the parameter. And this is how we use parameters, giving data into that code scope that doesn't already exist there. So now if I pass G into here, it's going to go into the parameter argument. It gets passed into this variable, and we can use that inside of here. Okay, and I can even change this name. I'm going to call it GRP for graphics, GRP. And it's, GRP, not GRG, GRP. And now I'm using this graphics context as this variable. So what's happening is G is getting passed into GRP. So GRP currently holds that graphics context here. And now we're using this graphics context here to draw an oval. If I run this, you're going to see that it'll draw an oval at 50 and 50, and it's going to be 100 by 100, right? Excellent. Now I'm going to draw a rectangle around this thing. I'm actually just going to copy this and paste it and do draw rect. And that'll draw a rectangle in the exact same place that that oval is. So it'll look like the oval is transcribed inside of the rectangle. See that? Excellent. All right, so I've got this method that's going to draw a rectangle and an oval at 50 and 50, and it's going to be 100 by 100. Well, what if I wanted to do several of these? Okay, well, I want to have one draw at 100 and 100, and I want it to be 50 by 50 in size. So I'll copy this, make another method, and this one is going to, oh, I can't do that. You can't make two methods with the same name. It's called a naming collision. Java doesn't allow that. At some point, we'll talk about something called method overloading, having several methods with different names, but this is not the time for that. So I'm just going to give it a different name. So draw rect and oval 2. And this one is going to, like I said, go at 100 and 100, and they're going to be 50 by 50. Great. Now this one is going to draw them in different locations. I actually have to call it though. So draw rect in oval, and this is called draw rect in oval 2. And now we've got another one that's drawing to the screen. See? Another one is drawing right there. That's awesome. So I can keep making methods to draw these things in different places. But that's kind of a lot of work. Like, if we make these methods do very specific things. This isn't the way we want to think about methods. We want to think about methods as doing something that's going to be more general. We know there's the concept of drawing a rectangle and an oval. And that's what we want this method to do. But we want to write the code in such a way that it will work for the user to determine how they want to draw it and where they want to draw it. Now, last unit, we talked about using variables in order to deal with abstraction. Like, we're going to write code sometimes, and we don't know exactly what that code is going to do, but we know how it's going to do it. For example, distance formula. We can write some code where we know we want to calculate the distance between 2 points, but we don't know what those 2 points are when we write it. So we use variables like x1, y1, x2, y2, and we find the distance between those 2 points. We use variables. We don't have to hard code those values. Well, methods allow us to do that. They allow us to do that through the parameter. So I can take in ints that are going to satisfy these conditions, an x, a y, a width, and a height. So I can go int loc x, int loc y, int h, int w. And these 4 variables here are going to be used to draw my oval and my rect. So I could just go loc x, loc y, width, height. Now, given that the draw rect and draw oval have the same parameters, I'm just going to do this. I'm just going to paste it down here. Now, this is a much more flexible method. It's not just going to draw them at 50 and 50 to be 100 by 100. This allows us to take data into the parameter to let the user choose where they want to draw that rect inside that oval. Let's give this a try. We've got our method call right here, and I've got to add some values here. And I said I wanted it to be at 50 and 50, and I wanted it to be 100 by 100. That's my first one. Okay? I run this, and it's going to put it at 50, 50, and 100 and 100. That's great. Now if I call this method again with different values in there, it allows me to put them in different locations, like 150, 150, and make it 50 by 50. Run it, and you can see it shows up in a different location. That's the idea of software reuse, and this is what writing methods are all about. In the previous video, we saw the method header and the method body. We saw the difference between the method definition and the method call. And in this one, we talked a little bit about that idea of abstraction and using the parameter to deal with that abstraction. We have a concept that we know we want to execute, and then the method call tells us exactly how it's going to execute. Thanks for watching.